Faith Matters. An interactive program brought to you by MTA International.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition of Faith Matters, where you, our viewers, set the agenda on the questions you want answered by our distinguished panel. Today's program is going to take a slightly different perspective because we're focusing on the whole concept, the celebration from the Christian world of Easter. But before I go any further, for those who are not yet familiar with the email, and those who, even if you are, the reminder once again is faithmatters@mta.tv. That's faithmatters, one word, at mta.tv. And the fax number, once again, for viewers wishing to use the fax, it's 44208-687-8037. And with that, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce my very distinguished panel who are joining me today on Faith Matters. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. Again, all faces well known to our viewers, but to my immediate right is Abdul Ghani Jahangir Khan Sahib, who's head of our French desk. Assalamu alaikum, Jahangir Sahib.
Wa alaikum assalam.
To his right is our Naib Amir of the United States of America, who joins us once again from across the States. Azhar Hanif Sahib, welcome to Faith Matters. A pleasure having you here once again. And to his right is Dr. Zaid Khan Sahib, who is president of the Qaza Board. Welcome, Dr. Sahib, to Faith Matters. As I said briefly in my introduction, what we want to do today is really answer some of the questions which we've been receiving on the whole issue of Easter, the question of Easter. Indeed, many of our own community members, those living within the Western sphere of the world, also go through this. Children are often faced with this concept of Easter, and dare I say, Easter eggs and Easter bunnies, and we may well come to that later on. But if I can start the first question off, and it's a very general question which comes from Abdul Noor from Wandsworth. Jazakallah, Noor Sahib, for your question. His is quite straightforward. What is Easter? Why is it celebrated? Azhar Hanif Sahib, if I could come to you with that.
The celebration revolves around the coming appearance of Jesus Christ, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. And the mission, as the Christians understand, was to be fulfilled through his death and resurrection, and thus the salvation of mankind through this act of sacrifice on his part. It therefore atones, according to them, the original sin of mankind, which we have inherited, all of us human beings, through being linked with our ancestor Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. We believe
so that's the concept of the original sin.
This is the concept of the original sin. Adam, he sinned, and therefore this sin was inherited to all of human creation thereafter. The prophets who were sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they attempted to break this cycle of the sin of man, but for whatever reasons they believe, the prophets failed. They did not achieve their objective, their missions, to break the cycle of sin, and man continued to be a sinner. Thus, in the end of all this effort, a long process of human history, of religious history in the Bible, God sends, according to them, a new personality to achieve the goal. That was Jesus Christ, alayhi salam. And they consider him to be part and parcel of the Godhead of God Almighty. And God had to send, therefore, his own being in the form of his Son. The Son appears. He preaches for a while the ministry of salvation to the Jews to whom he was sent. And at the end of this, he was rejected, he was arrested, beaten for a while, and then finally put on the cross, where he was crucified, and he dies. This is the Good Friday experience that most Christians in the world, they go through, that reliving that passion play of Jesus Christ being arrested, being beaten, the crown of thorns. He has to carry his cross up this hill. Finally, he's crucified, and then he descends, according to this philosophy, into the hellfire. For 3 days, he's in this hellish state, being accursed, one who's away from God, who's taking on all the burden of mankind's sin in this state of punishment for all man's sin. Finally, he overcomes that. He comes back to life on the third day, which is Easter Sunday, according to the Christian world.
Tradition, yeah.
And this day he is absolved of all the sins of humankind. Those who believe in him, therefore, they are saved in the Christian concept of being saved. And saving meaning here, they're sinless now. They have been cleansed of all their sins of the past, and even of the future by this belief in Jesus Christ. This is Easter Sunday. And from that point, Jesus Christ ascends ultimately to God's right hand, where he sits, according to the philosophy, to return once again.